In this lesson, we're going to look at finding the volume of cylinders, okay? And to start out with this, sometimes what the difficult part about surface area and volume is recognizing the given information on a picture. And so it says for each cylinder, this one and this one, I want us to do 4 things to it. I want us to shade the bases of the cylinder. Remember, a cylinder is made up of 2 circular bases that are connected with like a body part, basically, like a can, the middle part. So I want us to shade the bases. I want us to draw a solid line to show what the diameter is on the top base, and I want us to label it. And then I want us to draw a dashed line for the radius on the bottom base and label it. And then I want us to label the height of the cylinder. Now for this cylinder right here, that should be really easy. So take a highlighter, take a map pencil, and I want you to shade the bases of the cylinder. Okay, hopefully this is really obvious. You should be seeing that this is the top base and this is the bottom base. Okay? So now the second thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a solid line for the diameter on the top base. And so remember, diameter was one of our vocabulary words. It goes all the way across. And so that would be our diameter, all the way across. Then it says draw a dashed line for the radius on the bottom base and label it. Remember, a radius goes from the center to the edge. So it might look like that. That is our radius. Okay. And then the last thing, it says label the height of the cylinder H. So I want you to remember that a height of an object always goes from one base to the other. So from the circular base to the circular base. So this would represent the height of our cylinder. Now let's look at this cylinder that's laying flat. Okay, it would still be the same way if we have lying it flat. So we're going to shade our bases. So now we have a base here and a base here. Okay, so it looks a little bit different. Now, let's treat this as our bottom. Doesn't really matter. It's laying flat, right? So it really doesn't matter. But we're going to treat that as our bottom. So again, our diameter would be from one edge of the circle to the next. That's our diameter. And the radius would be halfway. Now I just want to show you, you could have the radius drawn like this. It looks shorter, but it's still going from the center to the edge of our circle. So that is still possible for it to look like that. And then remember, once again, our height of the cylinder, I'm going to write this down, goes from base to base. That's really important. It gets important with some of the other figures that we're going to look at. So this right here would be the height of our base. And same thing if we did it across the bottom. Okay, so let's look at volume. It says the volume of a rectangular prism is found by multiplying the area of the base by the height of the prism. And it says mathematicians commonly write this as volume equals capital B, which stands for area of the base, by the height of the prism. And I want you to see on your formula chart, where is it? Volume. Here we have volume of a prism cylinder is big B times H. Area of the base, times the height. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to our notes. So finding the volume of a cylinder is exactly the same formula. Prisms and cylinders are exactly the same thing. We're going to find the area of the base and multiply it by the height. So in other words, the volume is equal to the area of the base times the height of the figure, area of the base, or I'm sorry, and so what is the, I meant to write something different there. On a cylinder, what shape is the base? The base is a circle, right? That's why we practiced circles the other day. So the volume of a cylinder is equal to the area of a circle times the height. So this would be, we would want to look on our formula chart. If you can't remember, I want you to see, and we're going to practice using our formula chart some more. I want you to see that there's area, and there is a circle, and it reminds us that the area of a circle is pi r squared. So look at the formula here. Do you see how we've replaced pi r squared with our capital B? So we have to replace capital B with pi r squared, okay? A capital B, does no good. Times h, times the height of the prism. Okay, so let's look at an example. The cylinder has a radius of 4 centimeters and a height of 10 centimeters. Find its volume. So I just want you to practice, and I know this is going to seem really tedious. Here is our volume formula. And then I want you to practice. We've got to replace that capital B with our area formula. The area of a circle is pi r squared, and then times our height. And so now we're ready to simply plug in numbers. So volume equals, we talked about the other day that we want to continue to leave that as pi. And we're going to use our pi button unless it specifically says use 3.14. We're going to use pi. Our radius, okay, it told us in the wording it was the radius, and I can see here in the picture that it's halfway across, so my radius is 4 squared times the height of my prism from base to base, remember, which is 10. So I want you to take this, I want you to plug it into your calculator, pause your video, and see if you get the same thing that I get. Okay, when I plugged it in, I used the pi button. I said 4 squared times 10, and I got 502.655. Let's round that to maybe the 10th place. So that would be 502. The volume is equal to 502.7. We're talking about centimeters, and because we have 3 dimensions, this would count as 2 dimensions, radius squared and the height. Remember, volume is cubed. So our volume would be 502.7 cubic centimeters. Okay, let's look at the next one. The only difference in this one is that instead of giving us the radius, they gave us the diameter. So remember, we talked about the other day that if 6 is the diameter, the radius is half of that. So our radius should be 3. Okay, so let's work through it again. Our volume formula is area of the base times the height. Our area, our base is a circle. So I'm going to replace a capital B with pi r squared times the height of our prism. And now let's plug in our numbers. Pi times our radius, which we said was 3. Uh-oh, my computer's going to. Times our height, which is 9. So again, let's see if we can plug that in. You might be looking at that and say, hey, I can do some of that with my own brain, and that's awesome if you can do that. But I also want to tell you that it's very easy to put it into your calculator exactly how it looks on your paper. Okay, you should get, this is what it should look like if you put it in all at once. And you should get 254, and if we round to the tenths place, 0.5. So our volume is 254.5 cubic centimeters. And that's it. That's all there is to volume. It's as simple as that. But really important that we remember our capital B has to be replaced with a different formula. And so we're going to keep working on that.